Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India restricts import of ready-made garments, other goods through land transit ports, days after Bangladesh put similar restrictions for Indian yarn and rice. Fresh round of negotiations for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal between Israel and Hamas begins in Qatar's Doha. Hamas proposes releasing some hostages in fresh talks. US President Donald Trump says he will speak to Russian President Putin on ending the Ukraine conflict on Monday. Also plans to speak with Ukraine President and NATO members. And in sports, world number 1 Yannick Sinner will face 4-time Grand Slam champion Carlos Alcaraz in the men's singles final of Italian Open. The Directorate General of Foreign Trade, Ministry of Commerce and Industry has imposed new port restrictions on certain goods imported from Bangladesh to India. According to notification issued on May 17, the import of ready-made garments, processed food items, fruit rings, cotton waste, plastic goods and wooden furniture will be restricted through specific land ports. These goods can only be imported via Nhava Sheva and Kolkata seaports, with restrictions on several land custom stations in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram and parts of West Bengal. However, the restrictions do not apply to goods in transit to Nepal and Bhutan or imports of fish, LPG, edible oil and crushed stone from Bangladesh. Now, the government is sending 7 multi-party delegations to different countries to present India's stance on counter-terrorism and Operation Sindoor post the Pahalgam terror attack. The all-party delegations will soon engage key nations under Operation Sindoor, reflecting India's collective resolve against terrorism. So, the first among the 7 all-party delegation will be led by BJP's Baijent Pandey and visit countries including Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain and Algeria. Second delegation will be led by BJP's Ravi Shankar Prasad and visit nations including UK, France, Germany, European Union, Italy and Denmark. The third delegation will be led by JDU Sanjay Kumar Jha and visit Indonesia, Malaysia, Republic of Korea, Japan and Singapore. The fourth delegation will visit nations including UAE, Liberia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone and led by Shiv Sena's Shrikant Shinde. The fifth group of all-party MPs will be led by Congress Shashi Tharoor and visit nations including USA, Panama, Guyana, Brazil and Colombia. And the sixth delegation will visit nations including Spain, Greece, Slovenia, Latvia and Russia and led by DMK's Kanimuri Karunanidhi. The final and seventh group will be led by NCP's Supriya Sule and visit nations including Egypt, Qatar, Ethiopia and South Africa. And in a significant nationwide outreach effort, the 11-day-long Ataranga Yatra is underway across the country to honor the courage and sacrifice of India's armed forces, particularly celebrating the success of Operation Sindoor. To celebrate the success, Ataranga Yatra was organized in Haridwar, Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami on Saturday praised the Indian armed forces for successfully carrying out Operation Sindoor and said that they displayed their bravery and valor and destroyed the terror sites in Pakistan. In a powerful display of patriotism and solidarity, Eastern Indian state of Odisha witnessed a grand Tiranga Yatra on Saturday in honor of the Indian Armed Forces, which successfully executed Operation Sindoor in response to the recent terrorist attack in Pahalgam. In support of the Operation Sindoor, a Tiranga Yatra was organized in Banda, Uttar Pradesh to showcase solidarity with the armed forces and patriotism. And in a stirring display of patriotism and unity, a grand Tiranga rally was held in West Indian city of Nagpur to commemorate the success of Operation Sindoor. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis led the rally, organized in solidarity with the nation's armed forces. In honor of the valor of the Indian Armed Forces, a bike Tiranga rally was organized in the financial capital of India, Mumbai. The Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, has decided to suspend its agreements with universities in Turkey over its support and military assistance to Pakistan. Turkey reportedly supplied drones to Pakistan and deployed military operatives to assist in countering Operation Sindoor, India's retaliatory military action following the Pahalgam terrorist attack. Before IIT Bombay, other premier institutions such as Jawaharlal Nehru University and Jamia Millia Islamia had either suspended collaborations with Turkish universities or were considering similar actions. Other institutions such as Kanpur University and Sharda University, a private university in Noida, has also severed their ties with Turkish institutions. The boycott has extended beyond academia, with traders refusing to stock Turkish goods and individuals cancelling travel plans to the West Asian nation. Online travel platforms such as Ease My Trip and Ixigo have also issued advisories against visiting Turkey and other allied countries. The Indian Space Research Organisation ISRO on Sunday launched its 101st satellite EOS-09 aboard the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle C-61 from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre at Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh. The PSLV C-61, marking the 63rd flight of the PSLV series and the 27th in its 40th configuration, was tasked with placing the Advanced Earth Observation Satellite EOS-09 into a sun-synchronous polar orbit. However, the EOS-09 mission could not be accomplished. According to the ISRO chief, the performance was normal up to the second stage, but some issues were encountered in the third stage. ISRO has announced that a failure analysis committee will thoroughly investigate the telemetry and flight data to determine the exact cause and implement corrective measures. Despite this setback, ISRO's PSLV remains one of the world's most reliable launch vehicles with a long record of successful missions. And India's Minister of State for Defence, Sanjay Seth, will lead an Indian delegation at the 17th edition of Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition, Lima 2025. Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition, Lima 2025 will be held at Langkawi, Malaysia from May 20th to 24. An Indian pavilion is set up in Lima, which will be inaugurated by India's Minister of State for Defence. Many DPSUs, including Majgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, Bharat Dynamics Limited, PEML, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and Gliders India Limited and private defence companies will be participating in the exhibition and showcasing the Indian defence industry prowess. This year, Indian assets including Dornier aircraft and an Indian naval ship will also participate in Lima 2025. India and Malaysia have a robust and multifaceted relationship which has expanded into several strategic areas including defence and security. Lima, established in 1991 and held biennially, is regarded as one of the largest and most significant maritime and aerospace exhibitions in the Asia-Pacific region. The southern Indian city of Hyderabad witnessed a devastating tragedy on Sunday morning as a massive fire broke out in a commercial residential building near the historic Charminar, leaving at least 16 people dead. The cause of the fire is yet to be officially confirmed, but preliminary reports suggest it may have been triggered by a short circuit. 3 individuals perished at the scene from smoke inhalation, while 13 others succumbed to their injuries in various hospitals. Several others remain in critical condition. Prime Minister Modi expressed his sorrow over the incident and announced financial relief for the victims. Union Minister Kishan Reddy visited the site, promising to seek central government assistance. State Chief Minister Revant Reddy also expressed condolences and pledged support for the affected families. Updates on Gaza conflict now. Israel and Hamas have resumed fresh round of talks on Gaza ceasefire and hostage deal in Qatar on Saturday. The talks took place after Israel launched its new military offensive in Gaza. The new ceasefire talks are being held in Doha and the first round took place on Saturday afternoon with the help of Qatari and US mediators. Hamas has agreed to release hostages in exchange for a 60-day truce and Israel releasing Palestinian prisoners. The new proposed deal would also allow the entry of 408 trucks a day and the evacuation of medical patients from Gaza. And Israel is yet to respond to the proposal but said prior to the talks that it would not withdraw troops from Gaza or commit to an end to the conflict. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz stated that Israel's new military operation aimed at expanding the scope of the conflict and dismantling Hamas would continue until its objectives were met. Now, Arab leaders on Saturday urged the international community to press for an immediate ceasefire as Israel launched an expanded military offensive in Gaza. In the final statement of the 34th Arab League Summit, which was held in the Iraqi capital Baghdad, the leaders of the bloc's 22 member states called on the international community to exert pressure to end the bloodshed and ensure unhindered humanitarian aid to Gaza. The leaders also reiterated their rejection of forced displacement of the Palestinian people, which constitutes a violation of international law. The bloc also called for funding for the reconstruction and recovery plans for the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio held another telephone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday. In fact, the call, which was their second in just 3 days, comes after Israel said its stepped-up campaign was aimed at the defeat of Hamas and fresh strikes. Rubio and Netanyahu discussed the situation in Gaza and their joint efforts to secure the release of all remaining hostages. U.S. President Donald Trump acknowledged one day earlier in Abu Dhabi that a lot of people are starving in the besieged Palestinian territory. Now, Syria on Saturday announced the formation of National Commission for Missing Persons and another for Transitional Justice more than 5 months after the ouster of long-time ruler Bashar al-Assad. A decree signed by interim President Ahmed al-Shara and released by the presidency announced the formation of an independent National Commission for Missing Persons. The body is tasked with researching and uncovering the fate of the missing and forcibly disappeared, documenting cases, establishing a national database, and providing legal and humanitarian support to their families. A separate decree announced the formation of a National Commission for Transitional Justice to uncover the truth about the grave violations caused by the former regime. According to the decree signed by Shara, both bodies will have financial and administrative independence and act over all of Syrian territory. All right, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. UK to strike new deal with European Union in coming days, 5 years after Brexit. Pope Leo XIV to formally take up his role as leader of the global Catholic Church with a mass in St. Peter's Square. And on International Museum Day, Archaeological Survey of India offers free entry to museums and monuments where history comes alive.
Our actions harm the planet. But the good news is, we can also mitigate some of the damage.
We store the waste material like metal dust, metal pins that accumulates so that we can use it later for painting or some other artwork.
We've invented our own alternative cement, which essentially is compatible with crop residues, because of which Agrocrete, the world's first verified carbon negative bioconcrete.
When my son died, I wanted to take my life too. I lost a child, but I have started an initiative and planted 500,000 trees.
As an alternative to clay bricks, we have come up with concrete hollow blocks that are environmentally friendly.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. US President Donald Trump said on Saturday he will speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and NATO allies after his call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump had offered to travel to Turkey for the talks while in the Gulf last week if Putin would also attend, but Putin declined to take him up on the offer. Trump has been pressurizing Putin and Zelensky to agree to a ceasefire in the 3-year-old conflict. Trump said in a Truth Social post that his call with Putin will be on Monday. Trump's remarks comes a day after the first Moscow-Kiev talks in 3 years failed to yield a ceasefire agreement. Putin had declined an invitation from Zelensky to attend Friday's talks, sending a lower-level delegation in his place. Following the talks, which led to an agreement to exchange 1,000 prisoners each, Ukraine's defense minister Rustem Umerov said the next step would be a meeting between Zelensky and Putin. Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke with each other on Saturday. During the call, Rubio welcomed the prisoner exchange agreement reached during recent talks between Russia and Ukraine in Turkey. The secretary also emphasized U.S. President Donald Trump's call for an immediate ceasefire and an end to the violence in Russia's war in Ukraine. And Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on Saturday reaffirmed Canada's support for Ukraine in his first face-to-face meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky since winning the election. The leaders met while in Rome to attend the inaugural Mass of newly elected Pope Leo on Sunday at the Vatican. During his meeting with Zelensky, Carney said Canadian support for Ukraine extends to the president's leadership.
The Canadian people stand in steadfast and unwavering support of your leadership, of the people of Ukraine. We admire what you're doing. We admire your commitment to peace, as you've demonstrated again this week. And we underscore that there can be no peace without the full support and participation of Ukraine, and that you have our absolute support.
And the Ukrainian president thanked Canadian PM Carney for his support. Zelensky also offered some remarks on the recent peace talks in Turkey's Istanbul.
I think that it's important. It's important when two sides want to finish the war, and we really waited for Putin, and he didn't come. We think that he's afraid of bilateral, just direct talks. But anyway, I think that the decision of exchanging of prisoners, war prisoners, very important. 1,000 people, it's a lot, and I hope we will get this result. And of course, we have to make pressure, more pressure on Russia, on Putin, to really make peace as quick as possible.
Now, polling stations opened in Poland on Sunday for the first round of a tight presidential election that will be decisive for the future of the country's centrist government. There are 13 candidates in total, and definitive results are expected only on Monday. Poland's runoff, expected on June 1st, comes at a tense time for Europe, with ongoing Russia-Ukraine, rising far-right populism and strained ties with the US since 2023. Ever since former EU leader Donald Tusk's coalition came to power in 2023, key government initiatives have been blocked by the veto of nationalist President Andrzej Duda. Poland's president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces, steers foreign policy and can introduce and veto legislation. Now, Romanians began voting on Sunday in a tense presidential election rerun, a tight race between a nationalist and a centrist that could reshape the direction of the country. Far-right candidate George Simion comfortably stopped the May 4 first round, gaining close to 41%. He faces pro-EU Bucharest Mayor Nixa Dan. Simion's first round win triggered the resignation of leftist Prime Minister Marcel Ciolacu, the collapse of his pro-Western coalition government. Simion has promised to redo the second round of the 2024 election if the Romanian public so desire. Polls opened at 400 GMT and will close at 1800 GMT, with exit polls published soon after and results expected later in the night. Now, voters in Portugal will also go to polls today in the third general election in 3 years, with Prime Minister Luís Montenegro tipped to win without securing a majority in the parliament. Final surveys indicate centre-right Democratic Alliance is ahead of the Socialist Party and will likely pick up more seats, but once again fall short of the 116 seats needed in Portugal's 230-seat parliament for majority rule. The populist far-right Chega party is on track to finish third once more, making it a potential kingmaker, although Montenegro has refused to govern with the formation. Polling stations opened at 700 GMT, with final results expected 7 hours in fact several hours later. Sunday's election was called after Montenegro lost a parliamentary vote of confidence in March that he himself had proposed following accusations of conflicts of interest stemming from his consulting firm's business. Now, Pope Leo XIV will formally take up his role as leader of the global Catholic Church on Sunday with a mass in St. Peter's Square. Tens of thousands of well-wishers, including dozens of world leaders and European royalty, will be in attendance. From India, Deputy Chairman of the lower house of the Parliament, Harivansh Narayan Singh, is leading the Indian delegation to the ceremony. Now, International Museum Day is being observed today. It highlights the vital role that museums play in preserving cultural heritage, promoting education and fostering dialogue across communities and generations. Established in 1977 by the International Council of Museums, this day fosters global awareness of museums as hubs for preserving heritage and promoting peace. The theme for this year is the future of museums in rapidly changing communities, stressing their adaptability in the fast-moving world. It explores how museums can adapt, lead and thrive in the face of societal, technological and environmental changes. Museums are seen as essential connectors, innovators and stewards of cultural identity in rapidly changing communities. In India, the Archaeological Survey of India is offering free entry to all of its museums and monuments across India to walk in and witness the living legacy of India's glorious past. This initiative seeks to deepen public engagement with India's rich cultural legacy and provide a meaningful platform for people to reconnect with history and heritage. Now, a vibrant three-day traditional Thangka and Pobha art exhibition organized by the Himalayan Art Council attracted art lovers at Nepal's Patan Museum, located inside the UNESCO heritage site of Patan Darbar Square in Lalitpur. Pobha, a sacred art form of a Newar people, features spiritual symbolism and intricate iconography painted with mineral-based colors, gold and silver. Thangka paintings influenced by Tibetan traditions were also on display, reflecting Buddhist and Hindu narratives. The exhibition featured a diverse collection of works by more than 50 Nepalese artists, providing visitors with a captivating insight into the nation's rich artistic and religious heritage. Alright, sports updates now. We'll start with tennis. World number 1 Jannik Sinner will face Carlos Alcaraz in the Italian Open final showdown on Sunday. Sinner ended a 47-year wait for an Italian to reach the men's singles final in Rome after Adriano Pennata lost the title match to Jean Borg in 1978. Playing on home clay in his first tournament since a 3-month doping ban, Sinner overcame an off-key start before overcoming the 11th seed Tommy Paul in semi-finals. An Indian chess grandmaster Tanya Sachdeva hailed the Fit India Sundays on cycle as a platform to motivate more and more people to take up fitness in their day-to-day lives. In an exclusive chat with DD India correspondent Priya Yadav, she said physical fitness is also very important when it comes to playing chess, as the fitness of mind and body goes hand in hand.
While it may just be a normal Sunday for most of us, it is not for the people who have come here for Fit India Sundays on cycle. And with me right now is one of the greatest players of Indian chess, a FIDE chess champion also, Tanya Sachdeva. How do you see such events promoting physical fitness among the people?
Just fantastic. I mean, to make fitness fun and community driven is so incredibly powerful. The Fit India movement by our Honorable Prime Minister Modi sir, who's a huge believer in sports and the power of sports. And then we've got Sundays on Cycle by our Sports Ministry, by Mansukh Mandavia sir. And to see 600 people on a Sunday morning at 7 a.m. come together in Delhi to get on a cycle, to ride together, for a fitter Delhi, for a fitter community, was a very special Sunday.
Tanya, for most people, chess is just it's a mental game and requires mental stamina. How do you think physical fitness is important for playing chess as well?
The brain and the body function together, and for your brain to go into its optimal capacity, it is absolutely essential for a competitive player to have a strong level of fitness, because chess is played over 3 to 6 hours when we're talking about competitive chess at a high level. And what you really want is your brain to be functioning at its max capacity in that R4, R5 when mistakes happen. So fitness of the body goes hand in hand with the fitness of the mind.
How do you see such events like Fit India Movement and fitness and Sundays on Cycle events in view of how people change their entire direction of thinking of health and fitness?
I think a fitter, a healthier community is also a healthier country, and movements like these, initiatives like Fit India, like Sundays on Cycle go a long way, because one realizes that, you know, you could be from anywhere. You could be a young boy, a young girl, or you could also be an elder citizen. You could be an athlete. You could be a newcomer. It doesn't take much to get on a cycle. It doesn't take much to get on a movement. You need a little bit of will, a little bit of motivation. And I think initiatives like this, जिससे लोग जुड़ जाते हैं, it makes you feel you don't need to go to a gym. You don't need fancy equipment. So it's really a great way to do it. And I think you just have better outcomes in everything in life with fitness.
With camera person Monty, this is Priya Yadav for D-Day India.
And that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.